An initiative of the Greater Des Moines Partnership formed in 2007, the Business Innovation Zone, the BIZ, exists to connect entrepreneurial needs with qualified resources and to provide guided professional and business direction. The BIZ helps entrepreneurs maximize their successes by helping them navigate resources, strengthen knowledge, improve skills, form strategic alliances, and secure proper capitalization. To find out more about the BIZ, visit www.bizci.org.
All right, well, let's get started. We lose one. There's Marco. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We've got a little bit smaller group today. I'm Mike Caldwell with the Business Innovation Zone, part of the Greater Des Moines Partnership. The BIZ is a nonprofit that works with high growth potential startups, anywhere from I have an idea and I don't know what to do next, to people raising funds. I also run the Plains Angels, which is an angel investor forum. We have kind of some interesting news about that today. The Plains Angels, the mark of the press release is in your mailbox. The press release came out this morning, and we are going to start an Eastern Iowa chapter of the Plains Angels. It turns out that a bunch of people that are angel investors in Eastern Iowa want to join in with what we're doing. I think this is some outstanding news, because what it will mean is someone pitching the group will actually get to pitch two groups on two successive nights. We hope to have another 40 members in Eastern Iowa by the end of this year. That's my goal. We have a lot of interest. The kickoff meeting is coming up in February. So it won't be two separate groups per se. It'll be one large group meeting twice per month, looking at the same deals. So if you have any interest or know anybody that's interested in Plains Angels, send them my way. There's also plainsangels.com. Most of the information's out there. But that's, I think, when you think about the entrepreneurial ecosystem, funding available is a big deal. If you're building a company, you'd like to know that when it's time, and I know a few people that are building a company, that when you're ready, there's a home crowd that will look at the deals. So coming up in February, we have a fascinating topic in February. I'm going to make her smile. Kaylee Williams, who's sitting in the room, I'm actually going to interview her in February. Kaylee has had an interesting couple of years since graduating from college and is actually running a company here in town. So we're going to be talking about that in February, so look forward to that. Let's see. You're going to get a survey a little later today in the email. Please, it's about a 3-minute deal. Please answer. I use a lot of the things that come out of those surveys as ideas for what to do next. So I really appreciate any feedback. I try to keep it short and sweet. So on to today. I'd like to introduce Tori maerz. Did I butcher it?
No,
you got it? Thank you. Of Rocket Referrals. We're going to learn more about them in a minute. Tori is also the past CIO of AppCore, which is a very large-scale startup here in Des Moines. Have a background in user experience and user interface, along with a programming associate's degree and a degree in entrepreneurship and business management, all from the U of I.
Well, I didn't actually finish the degree, so.
You didn't? Oh, well, okay.
I got what I needed.
You got what you needed and left. That's a very modern way of looking at it. I got what I needed and I got done. So, well, let's start off. Before we get to Rocket Referrals, tell me a little bit about AppCore. You were there when it was going through some significant growth.
Yes.
What was that like? And was that your first real startup to work for?
It was well, other than the ones that I tried to start in the past
okay.
as well. But it was the first one that I worked for, yes.
Okay.
I loved it. I thought it was great because you worked on everything, right? So, I mean, we were renovating office for developers, and I got to talk about here's how we need to set up the environment to get them efficient in coding, and I was working with customers.
Sure.
Actually, day one I came in and they're like, hey Tori, we have this client who needs some code that to update something on, to schedule something. Can you have it done by noon? And I'm looking at it's 10 o'clock.
Sounds like a startup.
Do all the code reviews and everything that you need to do by then. So no, we don't do code reviews. We just write it and be done. So
write it and ship it.
Right. So it was fun. I mean, that was the first time where I was in an environment that was larger scale, bigger, or it was, but you could still move at your own pace, I guess you could say.
I guess I'm curious about this because it's something I've thought as well, but what do you think of it? Do you think it was a worthwhile experience from having started your own startup now? I mean, and I know you've done some before, but now that you're doing a startup after having worked for a different one, are there things that came from that have been beneficial?
Yeah, actually, because I came on right during, while they're really trying to grow and grow
Okay.
at a quick pace. So I have a feeling for what is it like to go through funding and that kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of have a better idea of what to expect when my company is going through those stages as well.
Probably learned a few things not to do.
Some
You don't
things
have to
not
talk
do.
about it if you don't want to, but that's all right. Yeah.
To do, yeah, absolutely.
So tell us about Rocket Referrals. Tell us, if you would, tell the audience a little bit about what it is, what it does, and why somebody might buy it.
Okay, so essentially what Rocket Referrals is, it's an automated referral system, at the highest level. But really behind the scenes, it's a way that we look at a customer's data, right? And we wrote what we call our smart referral algorithm. We analyze their data about their customers and find people who are most likely to recommend. And then the algorithm also can identify what are the key things to do for that person to actually get them to do it. And then we do all the fulfillment with that. So, we send out things like a note like this would be a welcome note. They would go out to a new client and say, welcome to the company. And then we work with them on the copy that goes in that message.
Right.
Pretty much the whole package. So we like to tell somebody that it's a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Right.
We work on getting your data into Rocket Referrals and work with you up front to work on the copy. And once that's done, it runs itself.
Okay.
And hopefully people just get referrals.
Right. So how'd you get to this? Did you find this idea, then decide to start a company to do it? What happened?
I've tried to start startups in the past that were like just an original idea.
Okay.
That is something like, wow, this would be a really cool thing. Now let's go convince people that it's cool. But I took a little bit different approach with Rocket Referral this time. Instead, what I did is I quit my CIO job at AppCore without an idea. There was no original idea at all. Convincing my wife to do that was fun. Right? But, eventually we got through that, and she's very supportive over what we're doing now, which is cool. And she was then, which is how you kind of keep going. But so yeah, no idea, quit, and I said, well, I'm going to go find that thing. I convinced myself that I have what it takes to go figure out something, not that I need something. Like, there's a million ideas out there. There's a million problems out there
Right.
that need to be solved. I just needed to find one. So I interviewed, around 30 different independent insurance agents. So why independent insurance agents? Well, I guess the first thing I did is I picked a market. That's the very first thing I did.
Okay.
And I picked them because they're easy to contact. I can call them up. They're always willing to talk to me.
Probably want to sell you a lot of insurance.
Yes and no, actually.
Were they pretty good?
Because I was very good when I would call them up. I say, hey, my name's Tori. I just quit my job as CIO at AppCore, a tech startup. I'm looking to find, I'm calling up people to see how you use technology in your office. Can I come in and just chat for a little bit?
So they're pretty good about that.
Every single one was like,
Good.
come in. Or,
Good.
We talk over the phone. And I told them I'm not selling anything. I don't have a company or anything like that, right? And yeah, they just let me in. So I spent a few months doing that. And what I found is these guys, I kind of said it on the radio show last night, is that sometimes it's not what they say, it's what they don't say that kind of sticks with you. And
Right.
I would ask these guys a lot about how they get business, and they would talk about referrals, but they couldn't give me a solid referral strategy that they're using. So I started to do some research on this, and I'm finding, well, these guys are getting referrals, but I guarantee you there's more people willing to refer them than what they're actually getting, because their customer satisfaction and everything is really high, but the number of referrals maybe 10, 12% or something like
Okay.
that. So
Right.
I knew there was something there, and
Right.
that's kind of where we moved into the next stage of the process.
Okay.
So from there, we kind of came up with this, okay, well, how do we solve that problem of getting more referrals? And, I kind of reached back into my user experience background to think about persuading people to take specific actions.
Right,
So there's
right.
a lot of things in usability. You have a button here in language to convert and to make sales. Well, you can apply that into referral business as well, and how you talk to people people. What I learned is that you need to build social relationships with people. That's really one of the key things to tap into the greater referral amount, right? I would say everything else out there that you read about referrals today might help you capture that first 10 to 12%, right? We're
Okay.
trying to get the other 50.
Okay.
To do that, you have to build a strong social relationship. So we came up with this idea of broker referrals, the algorithm, and everything I explained. And then we went and talked to people about that idea, those same 30, and then some additional people, and went back and said, hey, what do you think about this? And they're
Sure.
like, oh, that's great. I want to buy it.
Wow.
So we actually sold it to people before it was built.
Yeah, everybody listen to that, okay? This is really smart. Seriously, no, I know a lot of startups have done that, where you pre-sell it. It's a way of making your team and everybody else understand this is for real, and if you're raising money, there's no better way to raise money than walk in and say, I got a whole bunch of customers that have signed contracts to buy my product. Now I need somebody to build a product.
Yep.
That's a good way to raise money.
Yep. And the interesting thing is about that, and I haven't quite decided if it's good or bad, but we don't have any of those customers today anymore. And the interesting thing is, well, after we sold those first people without the product, they did use it for a while, but the product was different then. Instead, what we did is we found some pilot customers that, the people I first sold it to, they eventually want another product, right? But
Sure.
I found these guys, we call them pilot customers. I would actually work out of their office and tweak the product to fit for them. And those guys, we didn't charge them for it because they were influential in the industry and all that kind of stuff. So we use them to kind of help build our channel, but then also to tweak the product to the right kind of customer that we were going after, right? So, our pilot customers have been awesome for us.
Good.
And that was, I guess, we were in, the pilot phase through middle of December is where we're at. And that kind of brings us up to today, where we're publicly released and you can go out to our website and buy it online, which is awesome. And you start to get customers that you don't have to call.
I was going to say, have you had that happen? Has somebody just showed up on the website and bought it?
Yes,
They have.
Yep.
It's a nice feeling when that happens.
It's a nice feeling to make a call to a customer that's already bought your product.
Yeah.
And you're talking to them about how they can use it the most effectively, than to try and sell it this way.
Yeah, right.
So
They've already bought.
yeah,
They're in. So one of the things we talked about before, I'd like to go into a little bit on this, because to me, getting people to stay interactive with the product over time and getting them motivated to keep coming back. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I get more new free products to try and do this and do that, but getting the traction to come back. Tell them a little bit about what you're doing with the scorecard or the I don't know, competition. Yeah, right?
So we have something called the Net Promoter Survey that, has anybody heard of the Net Promoter Survey? A few people have heard of that, right? So that's one of the key components that we use in the program to find out, that helps the algorithm know how many people really are likely to recommend versus how many they, are. And we're going to allow people to kind of share that number.
Okay.
So like as soon as you sign in, you see your Net Promoter Score, bam, like let's say it's 38, and then it says, oh, by the way, the industry average is 29. You are so many points above the industry average. So
do you track that over time?
we track it over time. Well, we have the data right now.
Okay.
So I don't want to like sell anything that's not in the product yet. We have the data, but the visualization of that over time isn't quite there. So yeah, eventually you'll be able to see a chart of how it changes over time.
So do you like send them an email that says your score just dropped?
We will.
You will. So that's
We will.
and that's what I was getting at. I've got a product I use, and they do that.
Yeah.
They send these little emails that are very well crafted. They're obviously automated. It says, "You're doing great, but there's 3 things you can do," and it's it's
so
useful.
Actually, Carl, my co-founder, is sitting back there. That's one of the things that we've been talking about over the last few weeks is the engagement.
Right.
How do we make sure that we get people to move from our free version to our paid version.
Right.
And that kind of thing.
And then keep them.
And keep them.
Right.
So we're planning to do neat things like that. Your score going up and down. If someone gave you a positive testimonial, or things that make you feel good, are the things that we want to send an email. And we kind of pick that up, with our pilot customers. That was one of the best things about having a pilot working in their office while they're using the tool, because you see these guys using it, and you know the things that make them smile.
Right.
I remember sitting next to the owner of one of our pilot companies, and he's looking at it, and he's like, oh wow, look at what this guy just said. I just sold this business. This is, it's really cool to hear him say that. And then we've also seen it the other way around, where sitting with the same guys, like, this guy just rated me a 3. I bend over backwards for him.
Right.
What's up with that?
Right.
So that's really good information for him to have.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that we want to send, that's valuable to them.
Right.
Outside of just getting referrals. Which,
Right.
When I talk about those customers that we pre-sold that we don't have anymore, right? Like, we found a lot of benefit in the tool that we didn't originally imagine that was there, that we picked up on our pilot customers, and I think is becoming even more valuable than what we
Did that happen because you were in the office? Is that part of that?
Absolutely.
Because that's a critical thing. A lot of startups, it would be atypical to not have that happen.
Yeah.
Normally, your product changes as you go into pilot. You learn all these things you didn't expect.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought being in the office is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I mean, you have to be with your customer when they're using your product as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, that's the user experience person and you coming out. I know a few programmers would disagree with you. So you've got the product, you've got it released. How do you go to market? I mean, are you going to call individual agents? What are you going to do?
We have called individual agents.
Yeah?
And so Carla and I have our tentacles out in lots of different places, and we're kind of seeing what's sticking. But we have a primary kind of focus that we're going down. We know that we can't sell this and be successful if it's a onesies and twosies kind of thing. I can't call up, 1,000 agents every month and make a 10%, 5% of those on sell. It's not going to happen. I also know that the dream of you build it and they will come doesn't exist.
Right. Right.
It just doesn't exist. So you have to work really hard on building that distribution channel. And our channel right now is kind of it's a win-win, because we're looking for companies. Like, our biggest struggle is getting the data into Rocket Referrals. Like, you can imagine these small independent insurance agent offices, right? They're going to have a variety of different systems, Excel spreadsheets, and that kind of stuff. And they don't want to, use a lot of IT things.
Right.
And, as much as I can say, well, as soon as you get the data in, it's going to work and you never have to do it again, it's still...
You'll never get the data in. Right, right.
So we have that problem. We've been trying to solve that day one. So what we're planning to do back to distribution is partner with companies that already have the data and can kind of add on Rocket Referrals, more or less, for their customers.
So what's an example of a company like that?
So we, just in December, partnered with a company called QQ Solutions, and they are an independent insurance management system. So
they manage the insurance people's data.
Exactly.
Okay.
They manage their data.
All right.
So we called them up. We sent out letters and all kinds of cool stuff to those guys. Like, in my eyes, like, you treat them like your customers, right?
Sure.
Like, I think many people would start, if they're cold calling their direct customers, right? No, we're calling up people that have the customers that we need.
Right.
And so we talked to QQ Solutions. They're like, hey, perfect timing. Like, I don't know how this timing, I mean, like, sometimes you just get lucky. And I think we got really lucky. But they were working on a marketplace so that their agents, the agents using their platform, can go out and look for add-ons to their product.
Okay.
And, but kind of like Salesforce.
I was going to say, like Salesforce, right?
Something like that, add-ons kind of thing, right? So we called them up and they're like, yeah, we're going to be releasing it in December, and it's like November 13th or something like that, right?
Lots of extra time to get this ready, huh?
And we're like, okay, let's do it. And they set us up on the API, and we built the integration in a weekend. And again, I don't know how, but we just got lucky, okay? Because the day that we talked to the guy, the CEO of QQ Solutions, and said, okay, let's build the integration, someone came into Startup City, which Startup City has been amazing for this kind of thing. Like, you just meet people,
Sure.
Connections happen.
Right.
So some guy came in and he's like, hey, I work with a independent agent. He runs a podcast and he talks to people about insurance and everything. We're like, really, what system is he managing? Like, oh, he just moved to QQ.
Oh, nice. That is lucky.
Yeah, so we call him up and we're like, hey, we're building an integration with this. Do you want to use it?
Right.
And we had him right there to, build that integration, to test it, to get everything
Great.
rolling. And December 9th or whatever rolls around, we're on the marketplace. Everything just works.
So is that your plan going forward, is to find more integration points like that? Okay.
That has to be how we're going to get customers, because the data, like the people who have QQ, for example, they go out there, they put in their username and password, the data is shipped over, and the next day they're sending out welcome cards to people.
Yeah.
There's they have their net promoter score in a couple weeks.
Is that one of the cards there?
Yeah, this is one of
Can I
the
open it
cards.
up?
I have some to pass around. They're all kind of different.
Yeah, why don't you pass them around, because I'm going to take a minute to talk about this while he's passing around. How many of you know this? I've been in the tech industry for a lot of years, and the idea of being able to do what looks like a handwritten card, you guys have all gotten them in the mail that are obviously generated by a computer. These guys have done something kind of special because they don't all look the same. You can write the same word 3 times and it'll always look a little different. And they actually do look handwritten.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you...
Technology is getting better even.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure it will, but if you're really into this kind of stuff and you lay 10 of these out and look at them, they're not all the same. It's different. It's good enough to read, but it looks real. And I want to talk to you about the fulfillment of that, because this is not your average high-tech business that says, oh, it's all cloud-enabled, you just push buttons and go. I mean, there's a fulfillment aspect to this.
Yeah,
tell me about that. How are you doing it now, and where are you going?
Okay. I never wanted to get into fulfillment. I did not want to do it. In fact, I think I met with every single fulfillment company in Des Moines, and they just couldn't quite get that out. Right, the equipment's not quite there, or it was, but it was going to cost me like $10 a card.
Oh, geez.
Okay. So, going back to, I know referrals are this social thing. You have to make it feel good, right? So I knew that handwritten cards, if you hold them by the side, it's easier to get them out because they're fresh. But I knew the social thing was really important. So this is, I guess, kind of an example of we ran into this problem.
Right.
Okay, I know I need to do handwritten cards, so how do I do it?
Right.
I researched everybody. I looked online. There's lots of different companies, send out cards in Postable, and there's one called Thinkster, and these other places. But I'm looking at them, and I was showing to people, and there was one that actually had a robot that would write it with a pen, and it looked like a ball pen, ink pen. Yeah, the ink looked great, but the problem was a robot wrote it.
Right.
And every letter was the same.
Same, yeah.
So I started to kind of analyze, well, what are the things in this note that make it look handwritten? Well, humans do not write every letter the same.
Right.
There's inconsistencies. So we started to work on this program to make inconsistencies, make it look like crap.
So you wrote a computer program to make it not look like it was not a computer.
Exactly.
To do the inaccurate things that computers do so accurately.
Yes.
Right.
And so we just ran into this problem that we had to solve, and we solved it. And I think that's a lot of how we've run Rocket Referrals. Like,
okay.
You kind of run into a roadblock, and you have to make it work, and so you do.
To me, you've run it like a consultancy in a way. You went out and found a customer with a problem and solved their problem, but rather than just doing it again for the next customer, you've built it through to a product rather than just building it once.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's an interesting way to go at it.
And when I first thought this, when we first came up with the notes and writing everything as a key part of the output in Rocket Referrals, I'm like, I can just write them to start with,
Sure.
if I needed to. I never had to, actually, because I just had a breakthrough with this technology. We were able to build that in a very short amount of time. So I never had to write a lot of notes all at once. So.
That's interesting. So what has become one of the very interesting things about your business, you really did very quickly.
Yeah.
And as an afterthought almost.
Yeah. I mean, my background, my experience, and Carl's background and experience, we have a very wide breadth of experience of things. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert in any one thing,
Right.
but I know a lot.
But that's sometimes better.
Yeah, I feel like it is because, if you want to get an expert, then you go to Google.
Right.
But you have to know what to look for and how to put the things together. So that note, for example, the technology behind that, there is a lot of different pieces of technology in that.
Right.
I've showed every printer I go to, I show that to, and they're like, "Can we license this?"
Right.
Well, maybe sometimes.
So you could get defocused really quick and have a whole other company going if you're not careful.
Yeah.
So let's open up for some questions from the audience.
So once you got QQ, you talked about the reseller agreements, the integration. What's it been like working with the sales reps in particular?
So the interesting thing about QQ right now is that we're in their marketplace and we're available, right? And they need us to build their marketplace. We need them to, get customers, but their sales force isn't currently actively selling our product. We're working on that right now. So we're not paying them commission on anything. But if we're going to ramp that up and get them to offer more, then we'll probably work with them on an agreement like that. We don't know how that's going to turn out. What we do know is that Rocket Referrals is a carrot they're using to convert people that they already have to this new platform. So they have two different products, and a desktop one and a web one. So they're using us as a carrot to convert people. So we know there's value in us being there. So I'm not going to just, give them the world,
Right.
what we're doing. But at the same time, they're very valuable to us, I think, right now. And I don't know, we'll just kind of see how that goes. So far, it's been really good for both sides.
But it's a good question because even getting the relationship and getting into the store just means you're in the store. It's kind of like being on Amazon. You can be on. It's easy to get in the store on Amazon. It takes you about an hour. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to sell something. So you had a question, Scott. Brett.
Yeah, and I know with a lot of additional ideas, they have a tendency to kind of balloon into something that will take forever to build, and by all means, will probably never actually get done that way. But do you go through a process of kind of narrowing down to like what are those critical things that really has to do just to begin getting sales, and then kind of put some things on?
That's a great question.
Once it gets going, we'll get to those.
It's a great question. Before I was at Appcore, I was at Principal for about 9.5 years. And I would say from day one being there, the main problem they had with every project they did is it got too big, is scope creep, continue to add this feature on, And then being in the user experience world and knowing what are the key things that the user really needs, you just write those down, and if it doesn't hit on one of those, you just get rid of it. There's things in Rocket Referrals right now that you might look at and be like, man, that's stupid. Why does it do that?
Right.
Well, because my customers don't care right now. I'll give you a perfect example. When you go and look at the preview for one of our letters and notes that goes out, it does not look like that card. And that's because we built the technology to focus on the output of the cards. That was the key piece, right? But we don't have a way right now to actually view what it's going to look like until it's been printed. So we're working on that, right? It's going to be better, but like you go out to my website and you view a preview and it has the text that's going to be in there, and then right at the top it says, this is not representative of what the note will actually look like. I promise you it will look better. So Principal or some other company might not ever live with something like that, right? But I know my customers don't care. What they care about is that. And so we focus on that. That feature is one that's been kind of knocked down.
That is such a critical piece of advice. I tell you, I don't know how many companies that started as a product before it became a company, the solutionary problem is the product, right? Well, let's put that in, let's put that in. It's not quite ready yet. In fact, we looked at a company Plains Angels did Monday night, and the founder was there, and you just kind of tell he was just like, he's scared to let it go, right? And it's a wonderful product, but it's like, well, there's one more thing I could do. But, you've got to get into the customer's hands and let them tell you what to do. The best thing in the world is have a bunch of customers screaming at you for more features. As long as they're paying the bill, That's fine, because that just means they love you and they want to love you more, and that's okay.
You know, another thing though, to that point, like we have had customers in different markets and things like that ask for features and
Sure.
things that don't quite align with where we want to take things. And they'll kind of wave the cash like this a little bit, and Carl and I have to have hard decisions of, okay, should we build that or not? How much time is it going to take us?
Right.
Where is it going to actually take the product? And that, I think, is more difficult for me
Sure.
than, you know, picking what to build or not, you know. That's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
Yeah.
I have a frivolous question regarding the handwriting.
Yeah.
In determining the output, does your technology or your logic take into consideration male or female? Because
Well, actually, we can replicate your handwriting.
oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have male and female handwritings.
Gotcha.
And we early on we said we're going to do something kind of neat with this. We give each one of our handwritings a name, and we chose to pick some kind of person from history. So you have a Nikolai Tesla out there, you have a Sophie Scholl, you have some, you know, really interesting names, and I think there's Amelia Earhart. We wanted to give the handwritings a personality, a
Sure.
real person, because we needed to distinguish it from a font, right?
Right.
When you look at
It's not
a
a
font,
font.
like Times New Roman,
Right.
Marvin, Verdana, like what the heck, you know?
Yeah, what are those about?
We're not fonts, we're handwritings, and we want people to pick those and feel like, wow, I'm writing like it's Nikolai Tesla or something.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
Now, you focused a lot of your presentation on insurance agents and that type of market.
Yeah.
What other markets are you currently looking at for this, and
Yeah.
what other markets are you currently
we have,
doing?
yeah, we have people using it that are in sort of a, there's a term for it, a network marketing kind of nutritional product that's using it, and it's different. It's like a retail kind of thing. Then we have car dealerships and real estate agents. So those are kind of the three outside of insurance that we're working on. But we know there's more. One of the interesting things about that is when we go into a new market, we want to make sure that the copy is right and that kind of thing. So we work with those people, you know, very closely to make sure that the copy does work. We picked car dealerships because it's quite a bit different actually than insurance, obviously, but yet they're related in some ways, you know, and how referrals kind of work. But car dealerships are like a bigger one-time purchase, but that's how we think of it, but it's not. What you need to be doing as a car dealer is establishing a relationship with people so that they come back to you over time. And I think that's one of the benefits we found with Rocket Referrals is that it doesn't just generate referrals, but it creates more sticky customers. And so from a car dealership standpoint, I think we can help people get more sticky. So for example, we're using one guy who's using it. When someone buys a car, we don't send out a thank you for the purchase. What we do is we send out a welcome card, right? And it's like, hey, welcome to the family. If you ever need anything, ever have any questions or, you know, whatever, call me. You know, and that guy's doing a really good job of getting additional content and that kind of thing now. So,
Well, and the value, and you think about it, it's about the value of a referral. You know, what's a referral worth? Because that'll tell you how much somebody might spend for the system. Go ahead.
Are there any markets that you're staying away from? Why you're staying away?
Markets you're staying away from and why?
that's a good question.
See, if you'd asked me, I grew up in the car business, I would tell you to stay away from it, but you're already in it, so.
I can't think of any right now because I think, let's put it this way, we're not actively looking for any more right now. We're definitely focused on insurance and then the ones that we have. But we, you know, if someone approached me and said, hey, I think we work really well in this market, then we'd have a discussion with you and talk about, you know, how do you get referrals today and that kind of thing. So, it's interesting. While I'm talking about this, I kind of thought of a question for myself is, have you ever had that happen before?
I have.
Okay. The product's called Rocket Referrals, right? But one of the things that, I was kind of talking about is like there's also a benefit in getting people stickier and automated communication and things like that. And it kind of goes to, show you like our product is something different than what it started with. And
Right.
I don't know if it's always going to be called Rocket Referrals because you could use this thing and not generate one referral and it's going to pay
Right.
for itself.
Yeah, but I think that's really common. I mean, there are so many stories of tech companies that started on a problem and ended up doing something totally different, just completely different. And I think it's about finding a problem where people will pay.
Right. And so that kind of, I thought of that as your question, like someone in a different market could come up to me and talk to me and like, you're not going to use it for referrals, but you're going to use it to, automate your, welcome notes or, any other kind of
Right.
communication that we might come up to. And then if I get enough of those, then I might start to think, okay, do I rebrand Rocket Referrals as something else?
Right.
Then we kind of bridge that gap or cross that bridge.
Right.
I guess when we say.
There's a question back there. Back.
Oh, yeah, so you mentioned car dealerships. Can that particular dealership use the service to, for example, once somebody's made the purchase, continue to reach out to them, say every 3 months, to say you need to come in and get an oil change or do this or do that? And how often would you hit a customer, I guess?
Yeah.
Do you have any guidelines in place for over-communicating?
So that's a good question because that's one of the things that Carl and I talk about a lot is that we talk about the things that we're not. We're not drip marketing. We're not a CRM. And when we start to look at activities that can be solved by a tool like that, we start to question, of how it fits in. Generally speaking, if we can say, well, there's valuable data that we could get out of that particular interaction, and if we can't get it any other way, then maybe it's something that we add into the product. But short answer to your question is no, it doesn't do that right now. And that's because we think that car dealers are already doing that with other products. So we're looking for the things that they're not doing and that they're doing different. That's what we want to fix. So.
You had a question?
What's your revenue model?
So what's the revenue model?
Yeah, monthly subscription to the service, which comes with a certain number of cards that you can send out because when you buy a paid version, we want you to be able to use it fully and not have to worry about buying additional cards. However, you can add on additional cards if you need to send out more. But we've structured the plans so that they're by the number of contacts in the system. Excuse me, and based on our pilots, we know about how many cards people are going to send, so we kind of structured it around that.
Well, it kind of makes it easier too because you're doing a single price.
Single price.
Even though there are options to change it, you're not saying, well, it's this much plus this much per plus this much. Pretty soon, price becomes a confusing point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a guy using it that sent a thank you card to his cousin for something else.
Nice. Just sounded handy, huh?
Yeah, it was useful for him.
Funny.
She just did one for Smart Honda. So I just got a card yesterday from Smart Honda. Did you write this?
That's good. I want to see that card. Because no, he didn't do it.
A competitor rises. Somebody with really good handwriting. He might have actually written it, yeah. Other questions?
You thought about licensing or other kinds of distribution partnerships that might work with, there's a lot of companies out there doing lead gen and marketing automation and whatnot.
Yeah.
Would you fit with something?
With marketing automation, so when I think about like potential acquisitions and things like that, people that might look at my product as something that would be beneficial, I right away start to think of marketing automation. And I'll tell you why, because I feel like Rocket Referrals is the next generation of those tools, okay? From a user experience standpoint, has anybody used a marketing automation system at all? I mean, they are a pain in the butt to set up. You gotta set up your phones, you gotta do all this stuff, and you have to be very knowledgeable in what you're doing. Essentially, behind the scenes, what Rocket Referrals is a marketing automation platform where we've pre-configured it to work for generating referrals. right? So you come in and you flip switches on, off,
Right.
and bam, it works.
Right.
So wouldn't it be cool if your marketing automation system worked that well?
Well, and it's a market, and it's interesting because it's a market. CRM is one of these markets that's vibrant, and there's a lot going on, but the success rate is so low, and people actually getting the return they expected. And it's not because some technology's in the way. It's about process and use, and it's about the data being clean. My company went through stupid amounts of money trying to put a CRM system in of their own design before finally buying a Salesforce system and setting it up in about a month.
One of our core beliefs, when we founded the company, is that small, medium-sized companies deserve access to the same technology that multi-billion-dollar companies have access to. And if you think of who are the people that marketing automation systems are selling to, they're selling to the people that have a marketing team that can set this stuff up, bigger companies. And when you go and you talk to them about, when they're trying to sell you, what they're doing is they're selling a marketing automation platform. And they don't talk about, the benefits that you get out of it, right?
Right.
But if I go to you and I sell Rocket referrals and I say, I'm going to generate more referrals for you, bam, they get it, they understand what it's going to do, the output is there. If I went to them and said, hey, I have a marketing automation system that has a referral strategy built into it, what do you think?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you lost me.
Yeah. And then you can sell to these small guys, the small, medium size, I think is a big market that is, essentially being ignored.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to reach. If you're a big company, if you're a CRM company that's, you're worrying about your average sale price and cost. Going down market means the cost per license went up and the price per overall sale went down, so they don't want to be there.
Right, yeah. So you have to hit them with the output, the benefit.
The end result.
Right? The end result. What they're going to get, and it has to be super quick and easy to use because they don't have time to make it work.
Question in the back.
I may have missed this because I came in late, but give an example within, say, the insurance and the auto, how your product works.
Yeah, so let's do insurance because that's kind of our primary, right? Yeah. So, and let's say that a new customer comes in. The first thing that we do when we go into an office is we train people on how to start to track referrals a little bit more. You have to make sure that you're tracking, who is referring who. So a new guy comes in. First thing we tell people to say, and this works in any industry, please use this, we say, who was it that referred you to us? Because we'd like to send them a thank you note. When you ask it that way, they're actually going to tell you where they came from. Oh, well, I found you on Google, actually. Because it's a different question. There's a lot of psychology behind that, I won't get into it. But you ask that, you start to track them. Okay, so let's say, oh, well, Mike Colwell referred me. Okay, so they put in Mike Colwell referred, what did I say this guy's name was? Adam. Okay. So Adam is actually going to get a welcome card to the company, and it's going to say, "Hey Adam, thanks for signing up," or I can't remember the exact copy. As Mike knows, and we'll mention Mike's name in there, we take care of our customers, especially those that come from referrals. So we're warming him up to generate referrals himself from the second that he talks to you to when he gets the welcome note. And then we send Mike a thank you note that says, "Hey Mike, thanks for the referral." And Mike's going to get it whether or not you sign up or not. We want Mike to be appreciated for the referral, not for you actually becoming a customer.
Right.
And so now
That's
Mike
critical.
gets a thank you note and just says thanks. But we don't say, thanks, here's a $10 Target card you can use. We don't pay him for the referral. We tell him that we appreciate it and that we're going to take care of his friend because that's probably why he referred him anyway. So that's one example. That's one tactic that we use that Mike's. So the new guy that came in, he's a new customer, he's happy about his decision. We're increasing the likelihood that he's actually going to refer because he's going to feel even better about it. His friend did it, so now he's going to do it. And we're telling Mike thank you, so he's going to hopefully do it again.
One common theme I hear through all this, I think it's worth pointing out, is measure, 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 measure. And the idea of you need to track referrals, that needs to be part of your business. I mean, most people would know that, but whether they'd make it a priority is another thing. And as you build companies, it's hard sometimes to get people to measure all the things you need to measure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one more thing on everybody's list. If your job is to go out and do system installations, measure, measure, measure is not your first priority. So it is a challenge, but it's also how you keep people coming back for your product is when you can show them it works.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Brad?
Brad.
How's it been working with your brother?
I was just going to ask the same question. How's it been working with your brother? How do you like that?
Oh, how's it been working?
Carl's over there going,
It's been good, actually. It's been really good. I mean, the cool thing about working with your brother is, like, you can just be honest straight up. You don't have to hide feelings and, that kind of thing. I mean, my view on an organization anyway is, like, the flatter it is, the better, so there's no hierarchy or anything like that. I mean, we get pretty passionate about the design and that kind of thing, what we're doing, and it's kind of fun because you might get more heated sometimes with your brother than you would with, a coworker, but at the end of the day, we get over it. So it's cool. I like it. It's been good.
Read the register in a couple of weeks.
read the register? Yeah. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Don't forget you'll get an email if you would. Just respond and give us a couple pieces of feedback. We greatly appreciate it. See you all next month.